Hello and welcome to What's Next. It's the Indy NXT Road Series from the home of steamed hams, Connecticut, at Lime Rock Park. We're here for round number 10, week 10, of the inaugural season of the Indy NXT Road Series, getting down to crunch time on the way to the inaugural series championship here in the Indy NXT Road Series here on iRacing. Drivers are out on the track in practice as it stands right now. We'll get timing up on this tower here. See if anybody manages to get a lap in here very, very quick. It's going to be sub-minute lap times here at Lime Rock Park. We're running the Grand Prix configuration with the chicane up the hill here as we'll watch Votive Racing's Indy Kirkwood navigate that very tricky chicane. See Satu set a time of a 44.432. And that will round out practice here. I've got to get my pylon fixed. There we go. So we will hop out on the track with Jason Satu. Right on board with Mr. Satu as he gets out on track for his warm-up lap. Andy Kirkenbauer chiming in the chat that he's slow this week. We'll have to see. I think you give yourself a bit more credit. We'll see you up near the front here before too long here. Jarrett Corey back for another week of Indy NXT Series action. Strength field this week, a little bit lighter than what we've seen the last couple weeks here for the series. Sitting around 2,467, I do believe. I will confirm that here. 2,645, rather. Only a couple off there. So we'll see as Satu navigates the front straightaway here for his first of two qualifying laps. Very, very fast track for this car. We saw this in IndyCar competition here on the sim a couple seasons ago. Very quick lap. I believe that would have been the classic configuration with no chicanes for them. Watch as Satu heads towards this tricky chicane up the hill here at Lime Rock. Get right on the little tan portions of the curb. Don't want to hit the red portions. Stay off the rest of the curbs here. This is a very tricky spot. This right-hander get all the way out to the curb on the exit. Head down the hill, aim towards the curb, don't hit it. Off, use a bit of the curb on the exit. Satu will head down the front straightaway to set his first qualifying lap. We'll ride on board for another one as he sets a 43.879, provisionally on the pole. Little bit of a slide through left-hander here. Corey will jump to the pole with a 43.720 rather. Flying around the Lime Rock Park here. Victor Couto, 43.549. See if Satu can improve here. He does, but it's not enough to move him up the order. He'll stay third. We'll hop out with Couto, who will be navigating the chicane for his second lap. We'll watch as he comes around the final two right-hand turns here at Lime Rock Park. Bit of a bump there off the edge of the curb there for Couto here. He'll head down the front straightaway. See if this is an improvement for him. Not quite. A little bit slower that time by. Jarrett Corey fairly close in tow with Couto. Hop outboard here. Ghost Energy car here for Couto. He's currently on the pole as it stands. Number of cars still left to qualify, including Votive Racing's Indy Kirkenbauer, who's getting out on the track right now. So we'll ride outboard with him in his qualifying laps. Get you an idea of what this track looks like from the outset here at Lime Rock Park. Track that's known very well to many an iRacer as it was one of the first to make its way into the sim. The original scan of this track coming in 2006. This has been one of the more recently updated tracks in the last year or so. It's a classic that many an iRacer knows and loves throughout the rookie series especially learning the ropes, and for me, it would have been the Mazda MX-5. My first win here on iRacing came in the Production Car Challenge Series in the MX-5 at the old Lime Rock Park chicane layout, which unfortunately I do not believe is available anymore. Indy working through turns 1 and 2 here. He'll head towards left-hander. The only left-hand turn on this track, unless you count the second of the 2 chicane portions. I suppose this could be considered a left-hand turn, but I don't consider it because you're basically going straight. So it's a right here, slight left there, another right up the hill. Very much on the curbs here for Indy. He'll head through the right-hander, back underneath the Toyo Tire Bridge, head through the final corner on the track, head down that front straightaway. We'll see if this is a solid time here on lap number 1 for Kirkenbauer. That'll be good for 10th. Ride around for one more time. Fairly tight near the front of the field between Kuto and Kori. They'll likely put up a battle throughout this race here tonight. It'll be very much a game of survival in the opening stages, as it will slowly start to string out here once drivers are able to get the cars underneath them. That chicane will be probably the biggest difficulty factor here on the course tonight, alongside the opening couple corners with the right-hander that reduces in radius as we'll see Kirkenbauer get towards it as he goes on a cool-down lap here into the left-hander, and then follow that up with another right-hand turn after that. Very, very tricky. You got to run very tight up against the curbing on both sides of the track, as you see a bit of a bobble here for Kirkenbauer. Getting some more practice in, using the track time for what it's worth here. Hitting those sausage curbs up the chicane. This track's going to drive much like a short oval would. Cars are going to be in very close proximity to one another, but it's going to be ultimately who can navigate all the corners here at Lime Rock Park effectively that will come out on top. Of course, we saw the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series take on the course here at Lime Rock Park this year. Another more notable race that takes on this course in the modern day, alongside a slew of other club and regional level events. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you would ever so kindly do so and haven't already, you can hit subscribe, hit the bell, like the stream, share it with your friends and family, anybody you'd like to see come tune in a P1 broadcasting race here on the channel. We cover open wheel cars mostly throughout the week across our slew of leagues and official series coverage. This is our present, future, past lineup, in which we'll also have the Onyx Racing League's season finale in their Lotus 79 series. That will be underway about the same time you're watching this, so we'll likely transition to that at the conclusion of this race as Kirkenbauer continues to log laps here at Lime Rock Park. Zach Fahlm in the field. I believe he's the administrator for the Horizon, not the Horizon, the Formula Indy Series, which will take on Gateway tomorrow, or Wednesday night, rather. Good to see him out here making an appearance in Indy NXT. We have finished qualifying. We have a 18-car grid here tonight of a maximum of 24, so we did get ourselves a split here tonight. We will run through that momentarily. So it'll be Victor Kuto on the pole with a 43.549 ahead of Jarrett Corey in the second spot. Jason Situ will line up in third in his number 4 machine. James Burton will line up fourth alongside him, with Cody Barr in the 5th spot. Indy Kirkenbauer will line up in his Votive Racing machine alongside him in 6th. Franco Mancini will be 7th alongside Brett Stern in the 8th spot. Gonzalo Petrovic will line up 9th alongside David Stark in 10th. Ian Harris will be 11th alongside Brandon Statton in the 12th spot. Edson Toole will line up 13th alongside Zachary Falm, the administrator for the Formula Indy Series. David Schmid will line up 15th next to Lucas Miura in the 13 car in 16th. Georgi Trepsik will be 17th, and Josiah Wysocki will be last of the 18 cars here tonight. Falm on back, not setting qualifying times. Get the scoring pylon up here tonight. Indy complaining that there's only 2 left turns. Well, that's what makes it interesting, right? Is there's not a ton of left turning corners, so you're very much focused in the rights all the way around this 1.5 mile and change road course in Connecticut. We'll watch the pace car around these drivers all the way around it. Working their way towards that chicane here. They'll likely want to go single file through here, although it is possible to get cars side by side through here, particularly these slightly more narrow open wheelers. They'll opt to go single file, at least towards the pointy end of the field here. Heading towards that right-hand turn at the top of the hill here. Pace car will lead them around. Of course, you can see the West Bend chicane, the other chicane available here at Lime Rock Park, off to your right there. Only one chicane here in play tonight. Likely trying not to slow down these 450 horsepower IL-15s too much. Show off the might as the pace car will turn down the pit lane momentarily. Kuto in control of the field. He's not going to spend any time waiting behind the pace car. He is gone. Green flag in the air. We'll see Corey under fire from Jason Satu. We'll hop back to that battle. Satu is going to navigate away here. Fall in line in third. You got Burton alongside him. Oh, Burton's around. Satu's off. That's a front wing missing for Satu. Cody Barr's going to make it up to the 3rd spot. Kirkenbauer runs behind him. We've got the Hooters machine of Barr on screen now. Looks like contact being made through the left-hand corner between Satu and I believe that was Burton. Tough early break here at Lime Rock Park. It's very, very easy to get cars alongside there, and because it's a reducing radius corner, you'll see drivers kind of turn down into each other just a little bit. Not super uncommon or infrequent. You just have to kind of mind your P's and Q's through that very, very tricky opening section here on the course. But it will be Kuto over Corey. About a 7/10 of a second lead for Victor. Cody Barr runs at the 3rd spot ahead of Kirkenbauer. We're watching that on the screen here. We'll try to get a bit of a tighter camera shot here on him. He'll head down the hill, heading into that final corner here at Lime Rock Park. For those who've been paying close attention to our thumbnails here this season, this is actually where we got the thumbnail shot for the Road Series, is at Lime Rock Park through that opening section. As Mr. Barr is going to take a trip through the grass, that'll put Kirkenbauer up to the bottom step of the podium. Brett Stern will get ahead of him ever so slightly. So move Brett Stern up to the 4th spot. I'll move Kirkenbauer to 3rd in his number 3 machine. Navigating the chicane. Hop to the front of this. So we'll see Jason Satu just ahead here. He likely came down the pit lane to pick up a front wing. He's a lap down as it stands. So they'll head down into turn number 1 as Kuto will set the fastest lap of the race with a 43.671. So two coming in and out here, but Indy Kirkwood leading the rest of the field. Third on back. Has about a half second between himself and Brett Stern. We'll get those gaps better shown on the screen here so we can get an idea just where the battles are building up. See Ian Harris. Zach Falm up multiple spots, as I believe he started around the 14th spot. He's up to 10th. We'll stay outboard with Kirkwood here. Might be the closest battle as it stands, as we see Brett Stern in his draft just off in the distance there. They'll be heading down into turn number 1, two just ahead here. Corey is starting to slowly chip into the gap of Kuto, depending on where you are on the course. Gap's around a half second at the very moment. See if that continues to close as this race transpires. We'll watch Kirkwood navigate the chicane and try to get up to that battle momentarily. So we'll hop to Corey just ahead here. He's chasing down Victor Kuto. We'll hop on board with the driver of the number 1 machine here tonight. Heading off into turn number 1. He's slowly starting to reel in Victor here. Jason Stu sets the fastest lap of the race with a 43.612. Got a feel for Mr. Satu. He had something for these guys at the front of the field tonight. Unfortunately, not able to capitalize on it through an early incident. Jarrett working through the chicane, up the hill, heading towards the right-hander. Slowly starting to creep in on Mr. Kuto ahead off in the distance here. We'll ride on board one more time around here. So we'll get on to lap number 7. This will be quarter distance following the conclusion of this lap. Mr. Corey is going to set the fastest lap of the race so far, 43.563. Slowly starting to work his way forward. I'm imagining the draft alongside maybe a little bit of push-to-pass usage is helping here. He might be trying to bank it. We'll take a look at that at the conclusion of this lap, see where the push-to-pass situation lies as we come through quarter distance. Slowly starting to mount the pressure on Victor Kuto ahead here. He'll head under that Toyo Tires bridge down the hill, right-hand turn at the end of the lap here. Work down the front straightaway. He's going to have the tow. Both drivers on the push-to-pass down the front straightaway. He's going to look, fade to the outside here. He's going to let Kuto have the lane on the inside there, but he's right up on Victor Kuto here. I would not imagine it's too much longer before Mr. Corey looks to make a move here. We'll stay with this battle as it develops. Gaps builds back up through the chicane. It's very hard to get on the throttle out of that chicane very close to a car ahead of you. Regardless of the machinery you're in, these open wheel cars especially don't want to put your wing in the rear tires or the attenuator of the car ahead. So we'll hop outboard now with the driver of the one machine chasing down Victor Kuto. So we've made it on to lap number 9 of 28 here on offer here tonight. It's going to be a very, very quick event. Clicking off those sub 45-second lap times here. Rest of the field has remained relatively tame. We see Kirkenbauer has extended a bit of a bigger gap over Brett Stern in that 4th spot. Jarrett Corey running in 2nd. He'll be continuing to chase down Victor Kuto. Not quite the closest battle on the track as it stands, so we'll watch this as they navigate the opening couple corners and head back to what looks like is going to be the closest one between David Stark and Ian Harris for the 8th spot. Stark leading Harris off into turn number 1 here. They're at the latter half of the top 10 ahead of Zachary Falm, who will enter the picture off behind us here. That Callum Hedge car of Ian Harris coming back once more. A number of drivers have been running that scheme in Indy NXT this season. Good to see the real-world schemes making it to the sim, as Harris is going to have a bit of a tough time through the chicane there. That's going to drop him a bit further back. So we'll hop back to the lead once more as Corey is back. within 2/10 of Mr. Kuto. We'll see if he's got anything for him. Imagine it's just going to be getting close enough off the exit of the chicane here. Bit of a bobble. Very easy to do that here, especially with the next car balancing a bit more on the front end as we see Corey once again sliding through that chicane. He's trying to give it all it's got to catch Mr. Kuto out ahead here. Of course, this is only our first night of coverage for week number 10 of the iRacing Season 4. We'll head tomorrow night into our oval coverage. Of course, the IndyCar Oval Series, the big show, will be tomorrow night at 7:15 Eastern Time. That'll take on Phoenix, Legacy Phoenix, proper Phoenix, whatever you like to call it. The historic 2008 scan of Phoenix. That'll be 7:15 Eastern Time tomorrow night. Followed up immediately by Indy NXT, taking on the same track, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be Indy NXT Oval Series coverage at Legacy Phoenix. Wednesday night will be Mark Murphy on the call for the Horizon IndyCar Series Championship round. That'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Time, alongside the Formula Indy Series at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Thursday night, we'll have Laguna Seca second split of the Pro Series qualifier in the Indy NXT car at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we'll come wrapping right back on around to Monday on the channel. We're going to have to go back and look what happened to Jarrett Corey. He's fallen 2 seconds back of Victor Kuto here. Step back a ways here. See if we can try to decipher. So here he is, basically right up behind Kuto, heading towards the chicane on the previous lap here. And we're going to head off into this chicane. I believe this is going to be where the moment transpires. He's going to he hops the curb and has to basically stop the car to keep it from going towards the wall. And that's going to be all it takes for Mr. Corey to fall back a ways. So that'll mean we'll have to find a battle a bit deeper in the field. I believe that's going to be Cody Barr and Brett Stern for the 5th spot now, being the closest battle on the racetrack. Of course, you've got Gonzalo Petrovic running just behind Barr here in the number 10 machine, and David Stark's all over the back of him. We'll hop back to that now. See if, Petrovic is off. That might give Stark a good opportunity down the front straightaway here. Both drivers going to be on the push to pass. Stark's going to take a look ever so slightly. He's going to get to the outside of Petrovic, heading off into turn number 1. Petrovic will hold on to the spot as it stands, as we see Barr all over the back of Stearns just ahead here. And that number 16 Hooters machine. A little over halfway now. Those laps did not take any time to be spent here. We'll get to laps to go up on the screen. We are at the halfway mark of this race. Victor Kuto has dominated from the pole and kept it cool, calm, and collected, while other drivers have struggled in the opening stage to be on the money here at Lime Rock Park. As is said, the faster the laps are, the more you have to be on your marks every single spot around this track, and we've alluded to that being kind of a short track here for Indy NXT on the road courses anyway. Not too unlike a short oval for many a series, as cars will be having to navigate a lot of corners very quickly over and over and over again. So if we run through the top 10 here, Victor Kuto leads over Jarrett Corey. Gaps about a little over 2 seconds between those two drivers. We saw Corey with his lockup through the chicane a couple laps ago. Andy Kirkbauer rounds out your podium as it stands in the 3rd spot. He's about 6 seconds back of Corey. Franco Meschini, he runs in the 4th spot in the number 8 car, about a second behind Indy. Brett Stern will be 5th. Cody Barr on screen here in his Hooters machine will run 6th. David Stark has made it up to 7th ahead of Gonzalo Petrovic. Ian Harris will be 9th. Zachary Fong hangs out in the 10th spot. Georgi Trepsik, he'll be 11th. Josiah Wasaki, after starting 18th on the grid tonight, will be up to 12th. Edson Toole will be 13th. David Schmid, 14th. Jason Tatu, following contact with James Burton on the opening lap, is 1 lap down, and James Burton runs in 16th. The last of the cars still moving in our 18-car field tonight. Lucas Miura and Brandon Staton are in the pit lane being repaired. Not quite sure what happened to those two drivers. But we're working 11 laps to go here at Lime Rock Park. Drivers looking to punch their name into the history books as winners here in Indy NXT top split coverage here on P1. We'll see another new winner here tonight if Kuto is able to hold on to it, although the gap has fallen somewhat significantly. Corey now 1.6 seconds back of Kuto. That gap only continues to fall. We'll hop to Kuto now. You can see Corey off in the background there. Now a little under a second and a half as it stands at the moment. You'll see a car just off ahead of Kuto here. That'll be Schmid in the 13th spot. He'll go a lap down. So that'll be a car between Corey and Kuto here. They'll navigate up the hill, heading towards the double right-handers here. Head down the hill. Expecting that lap car will play at least some factor here as we'll get to 9 to go here. Around the, quite frankly, beautiful Lime Rock Park here. Nice foliage around this entire facility. I believe Corey has made it by Schmid. We'll see if that gap can continue to fall and if Corey's able to reel back in Victor Kuto and maybe make a pass for the lead here. Rest of the field has remained more or less separated at this stage. We shall see. Both drivers on the push pass down that front straightaway. Gap back to Indy Kirkbauer from Corey is now almost up to 10 seconds. Quite the driver's track here in Indy NXT machinery. As these two drivers lead our field, both over 5,000 iRating to their credits. They'll navigate the double right-hander, one before the hill, down the hill into another right-hander. Corey probably having another moment through that chicane. We heard some tires squealing off in the distance. Very, very tricky to navigate all the corners around Lime Rock here. 7 to go now. We're staying at the pointy end of the field. Falm has made it up to the 9th spot. I'm imagining that that was a single pass over Trepsky. Or Trepsik? Trepsik. Sticking with that. I'll move Falm up to 9th in his number 9 machine. Gaps are roughly a second all the way through the rest of the field, so we'll try to see if we can find a couple cars a bit closer together. Looks like that'll likely be the battle for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Gap between each one of these cars is about a second and a half. Drivers have remained relatively clean past the opening lap here tonight. See if we can maybe get an onboard lap or two with Mr. Kuto before this race ends. Of course, he's been your leader from the drop of the green flag, heading on to lap number 23 or 24. We'll have 5 to go here of the 28 lap distance. Right on board with Mr. Kuto. Staying nice and tight through left-hander, into the right-hander there. Back on the throttle, heading towards the chicane. Nice and tidy through the chicane, hitting all the tan parts of the curb. High commitment through that right-hander before the downhill section. Another high commitment corner at the bottom of the hill. Flat foot, more or less, for Kuto. He'll stay down the front straightaway here. Head off into turn number 1. Navigate the right-hander here. Into left-hander. He'll head back towards that chicane once more. Do see another lap car, I believe, off in the distance there. That I believe is going to be Edson Toole way out ahead here. He's going to want to stay on the lead lap here, surely. Navigate the right-hander ahead. Down the hill here once more. Gap just under 2 seconds back to Jarrett Corey. We'll ride one more time around Lime Rock Park with Mr. Kuto here. He's put on a dominant performance here so far tonight. Work his way through left-hander. Back towards the chicane up the hill now. We'll see Toole just entering that chicane as we speak. Head through. Up the hill for Kuto one more time. We'll head on to 2 to go as he navigates the double right-hander to close out the lap. We'll head outboard now from his machine. The Ghost Energy car has made a statement here since the drop of the green, leading all now 25 laps of tonight's event. I believe that'd be 26 rather. So we got 2 laps to go here. Not a whole lot of movement through the rest of the field here. See Ian Harris sticking it close to Mr. Stark in the 7th spot. Machini has caught Kirkenbauer. And Jarrett Corey is about 1.2 back of Kuto now. I don't believe that's going to be enough unless there's a mistake from Mr. Kuto to get him back into it. So we'll hop back to the battle for 3rd spot. Kirkenbauer over Machini. White flag in the air for Kuto. He's still the leader of this race, while 1.5 seconds over Jarrett Corey in the 2nd spot. We're watching the battle for 3rd here as this may result in an overtake before this thing is done. Kirkenbauer is going to defend the inside into turn number 1. Machini's going to get a bit of a run coming through the right-hander here. They're going to head towards left-hander now. Machini's all but on the bumper of Kirkenbauer here. They'll navigate this right-hander, head towards that uphill chicane. They're going to get awfully close together here. Does Machini have enough to maybe set up a pass heading on to the front straightaway here? Kirkenbauer is going to get through nice and smoothly through the chicane, build out a bit of a gap over Machini behind. He'll finish 3rd, assuming he can navigate this final corner with ease, and he will do so. Machini on the push pass, doing all he can. Not enough to take that spot. Victor Kuto, your winner here tonight, doing donuts off the end of the track before the rest of the cars even finish. He's out here having some fun in Indy NXT. I believe you'll see the same from Kirkenbauer in the 3rd spot. Number of drivers opting to use that runoff road for some donuts. That will do it here from Lime Rock Park. We'll get the finishing order here up on the screen. So it will be Victor Kuto with the win, 1.1 seconds over Jarrett Corey in that 2nd spot. Just a couple mistakes from Mr. Corey, not able to put up any more of a fight. Indy Kirkenbauer will round out your podium in the 3rd spot as the number 3 car. Franco Machini will finish 4th following a valiant effort to try to make a pass on Kirkenbauer in the closing stages. Brett Stern will round out the top 5. Cody Barr will be 6th. David Stark in 7th. Ian Harris will finish 8th. Zachary Falm in 9th after starting from the 14th spot. Georgie Trepstick will be 10th. We'll head to the bottom 8 drivers here tonight. Husayo Waisaki will finish 11th. Edson Toole will be 12th. Last car on the lead lap. David Schmid 1 lap down. Jason Satu 1 lap down. James Burton 1 lap down. Those latter 2 being involved in an incident in the opening lap of this race. Gonzalo Petrovic, Lucas Miura, and Brandon Statton being involved in more significant crashes or issues in this race tonight. We will get some podium interviewees up into the booth momentarily as we get their cars on screen. See if we can find a car. There's Indy. Get him slowed up on the screen here. Get him up on in the booth if he's down there. That he is. Indy Kirkwood, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Yep, I got you.
Well, despite some lack of confidence going into this race, you were able to hold on to a podium finish, kind of getting through the chaos of that opening lap through the first couple of corners there. Kind of walk us through managing this race. We had some good pressure from behind for you, but you were ultimately able to hold on to a podium spot here tonight.
Yeah, I don't know how I got a podium. Well, it's just because the 4 car and the 6 car crashed on the first lap, and I was able to get around them, and then the 16 made a mistake. But I wouldn't. The 4 car and the 6 car were much faster than me. I just got lucky with that, and I did not expect to be this fast. I'm usually not that fast at Lime Rock Park, and I wasn't fast. I did the race previous to this, and I got like 5th in that. I wasn't fast at all, so this is very unexpected.
Well, sometimes it's key to just have your car in the right place at the right time. You know, we saw a number of drivers have some struggles, particularly through that uphill chicane. Do you have any particular comments, maybe some struggle spots you had out there tonight, and how you might try to retackle that in another race down the line?
Was that last turn the corner I wrecked most in practice was turn, I guess, 3. It was that right-hand turn before the chicane. That one I spun out so many times in practice. I was probably taking that corner pretty slow because I was just trying not to wreck there. If you hit that curb, it just sends you around. And yeah, it's just pretty good result for a track with way too many right turns.
Well, ultimately, you were able to pull out a podium finish nonetheless. The practice did pay off in some capacity, so if you'd like to shout anybody out for your podium here tonight, feel free to do so, Indy.
Yeah, my go-kart sponsors are Fremont Functional Fitness, BG Emery and Associates, The Alley and Clyde, and Make Something on YouTube. And thank you for putting on the Indy NXT broadcast.
Well, always glad to have you here up on the podium, Indy. We'll hope to see you again tomorrow night in the Indy NXT Oval Series, where you're in a good contention for the championship there. I hope you can pull out a good result.
Yes, I will definitely be there. Do a lot of Q-trim for that.
Well, you heard it. We'll hope to see him back on the podium tomorrow night in the Oval Series. We'll get Jarrett Corey on up here. Get his machine on the screen if I can find it. Jarrett Corey, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Yep.
Well, Jarrett, it seems like surviving this race was a feat in its own right, especially given the very, very tricky nature of this track, especially in a car being able to carry as much speed around it as the Indy NXT here. Kind of walk us through the trials and tribulations of your race here tonight.
Yeah, so initially at the start I was really mad at myself because this is one of those tracks where you need to start out like P1 ideally because you can't pass here. Like even in slow cars it's difficult, and I figured in this car especially it would require a mistake. And so my goal off the start was just to hold P2, and I just barely managed that. And then I hunted down Victor, and then I just kept running wide at the chicane. I ultimately was faster, but yeah, those mistakes cost me. And realistically, I don't know if I could have gotten past him anyways because of what I said. This track's just hard to pass at, and Victor was obviously very aggressive, and I wasn't sure like how much risk do I want to take going side by side with this guy. So it just ultimately kind of fell apart for me like right in the middle of the race where I just couldn't put the pressure on, and he could sort of cruise to it. But yeah, this place is tough, and especially that chicane. You have no braking markers really, so I'm aiming to brake it like just before like some curve in the road, but it's hard to see and it's hard to get right every time. So it just is. It's a very tough track, especially in this car, and you don't really get any time to breathe either. You no real long straights, and corners just keep getting thrown at you.
Yeah, we were kind of making the comparison to a short oval here at Lime Rock Park, kind of a bull ring style track where you're just constantly hitting corners over and over and over again, not really having a ton of time to really think about how you're going to set them up. You just have to kind of be ready for them once you get there. You have any other thoughts on maybe kind of the tire management or any other factors that kind of played into navigating this race? We saw a number of lockups, cars struggling through even the latter half of this track running wide, just kind of working through where you felt like there was advantages to be gained if you could keep the car pointed the right way?
Not really. I mean, tire wear wasn't big. It wasn't big in practice, and in the race, it wasn't too big of a deal for me, at least. And then there's not a whole lot you can do with push to pass because there's really only one straight where you can really use it. I tried using it a little bit on the straight coming out of, I think, turn 4, and I think a little bit going up the hill, but ultimately, there's not a lot of places where you can use push to pass, and you're just kind of on the button the whole race because there's no real need to manage it because you don't have a whole lot of opportunities to use it in the first place. And then there's not a whole lot of tire wear. So it's kind of just full push and hope the guy in front of you makes a mistake or hope you don't make a mistake.
Well, you were certainly able to keep it relatively mistake-free and keep a podium position here tonight. If you've got anybody you want to shout out here, Jarrett, feel free to do so.
Just P1 Broadcasting putting this on. It's good, and honestly, the increased participation from this slot shows that it's getting people. So, yeah, it's great.
Thank you for supporting the broadcasts and the series here, Jarrett. Hope to keep catching you out through the rest of the season here on P1.
Yep, I plan to finish this out. So, yep.
Have a good one, Jarrett. We've actually got Mr. Kuto here to kind of talk us through his race tonight. We'll get his car on the screen. Apologies for having to track down these cars. I noticed when I was interviewing Indy, his car disappeared from our screen. Not quite sure where I was in the replay, but we've got cars back on the screen now. Get Victor on up here. Victor, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I hear you.
Well, Victor, it was a dominant performance leading lights to flag from the pole here at Lime Rock Park for you to kind of talk us through navigating this very treacherous, deceptively difficult road course here tonight.
Yeah, dude, I didn't even realize there was an interview. I got off the the iRacing and then I saw the YouTube was doing an interview. I had to find the Discord. But no, it was cool to join the Strength of Field race and be on the broadcast for my first time, and not a bad result to take it in P1 for the first time. But yeah, it's deceptively hard. There's so many fast corners where you come out kind of all the way into the grass, and if you drop a wheel there, you can really just ruin the whole race. So I think the biggest thing for me was I was in front, not getting the dirty air, so I definitely had the easiest job of just keep it in a straight line and just counting the laps down.
Yeah, we saw a number of cars kind of struggle, especially in the high-speed corners at the back end of the lap. The one before the downhill, and even the one at the end of the lap through the final corner, going just a little bit wide, dropping tires off in the grass, and having a struggle in their own right. Even the opening portion, there's just so little margin for error in a car this fast with as much speed as you've got to carry around here to be quick. So definitely a struggle in its own right. You have any other thoughts or opinions on kind of tips and tricks or how you felt like you were able to manage being even at the front of the field as well as you did tonight?
No, it was definitely an intense race. Jarrett was super quick. I think he probably overall race pace, he had a little more, but I was just able to defend when I needed to. He made a couple mistakes, and luckily I had a bit of a gap to work with. The biggest thing for me was, I don't know what corner exactly it's called. It's the chicane with the 3 apexes. I think just being able to get the throttle down there as early as possible and be nice and straight. And I think Jarrett lost it there a couple of times. I was just able to keep it straight and get the traction down. And I think that's really where most of the gain for me came. And that's where most of the lap time was for me, I think.
Yeah, I think that's something that's played very much into the pocket of Indy NXT here on iRacing is that throttle control, especially in corners like that where you're kind of changing direction very, very rapidly, being able to keep the tires and, more importantly, the entire rear of the car underneath you, very, very important. So if you've got anybody you want to shout out here, Victor, you won the race, so you've got all the time in the world to shout out anybody you'd like.
I don't know. Maybe I'll show mom and dad the broadcast. So shout out mom and dad. And I race for Zanella Racing, so shout out to them.
Well, we'll hope to continue to see here on the coverage we have here on P1 of Indy NXT here, Victor, and congrats on the win.
Thank you. Have a good night.
That is your winner, Victor Couto, here in his first appearance on the broadcast on P1. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the race here tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night with the Oval Series from Phoenix. That'll be 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for their 10th of 12 rounds in the inaugural Indy NXT Oval Series. More importantly, we've got to thank all the people that let us do the fun things that we do. That's the military, the first responders, the EMT that loads you in the ambulance, and the one that unloads you when you get there. To all those doing those very difficult jobs all around the world, we thank you for what you do. And for those tuning in here on P1 tonight, we will catch you in the next race, wherever it may be. We hope to see you there. Have a good night.